Hi, my name is William Beam. I'm from Suburbia Press, and today we're going to talk about Cloudflare web application firewall rules for WordPress. Basically, this is going to be about improving the security for your WordPress site. I did a video on this some time back, and quite honestly, that one was a bit rudimentary. I have since learned a few more things. I've found a few other resources that I'm going to share with you here, and I'm going to show you what I've got lately. Also, I'm going to give you my Cloudflare web application firewall rules that you can copy and paste and put in your own free Cloudflare plan. So that's a mouthful. Why don't we go ahead and get started looking at it? All right, so the page I'm on here is one that I found a little while ago, but I've found it to be very helpful in helping me get a better understanding of what we can do with Cloudflare. And you can see that I'll have this link in the description, but it's from Web Agency Hero. And they've got 5 rules, which on the free plan, that's all you get, 5 rules. But what you put in those 5 rules is what really makes the difference. So they're doing a slightly different version of what I did before, but I like what they've done. I think they've laid a great foundation here. So they've start off with an order that works well. They're not blocking anything until the end. So in other words, you have to pass all of these things, and then maybe you get blocked at the bottom if you're still, getting through all this. Now, they have laid this out very well. I think that they've done a good job of explaining what is what, and you can see that this is an update as of April 15th, 2025. Well, I'm recording this on April 27th, 2025, so this is fairly fresh. They're keeping this good. And there are a few things that they're looking for. Like, for example, they don't like AI bots crawling in there, and they used to have verified bots in Cloudflare that did not include AI bots. Now they do. So they've actually kind of changed their rules about how they do this. But I'm going to go into that in a little bit of detail. And what they did was they took screenshots of how they constructed this. There is kind of a visual expression builder inside of Cloudflare, and that's what they've done here. But the expression itself is this little text over here. So this is where you can go ahead and choose really the copy and paste that I'm going to show you a little bit later on. And this particular first one has options. Since you're selecting the option to skip, they have some components to skip, and they're skipping all of them. Okay, so while I think this is a great start, there are things about these rules that I tried and implemented and decided I wanted to change. The first one being, I don't want to skip all of these rules. So for example, hot link protection. I've got a photography site, and I've got people that have done hot linking on my photos over there. What hot linking means is that they post the image on their site by a URL that goes back to your site. So in other words, your site has traffic stolen to serve your image on someone else's site. Well, I don't want that, and I don't want to bypass that protection. So I am going ahead and leaving some of these things unchecked. I'm not going to skip them. So there are other things that I decided I wanted to improve. For example, there are some paths that they did not protect, like WP-admin. They protected the WP-login, but not the -admin. Well, you can still log in from WP-admin, and I thought that was probably an oversight. Their rules also seem to interfere with anything using the REST API or AJAX, and I just made some changes, modifications on my own. The other thing that you can't do, since these are images or screenshots, you cannot copy and paste this. If you want to build what they've built, you have to do it all manually. And that is something I went through. It took some time to do it, but it gets old after a while. And also, I found out that there are certain things that you can build in an expression down here that you cannot build with this expression builder that they have. And most of my rules are just going to be this kind of code because they don't work quite the same way in the expression builder. And you can see that there are some examples that he has on this page where he has to kind of go over and build different requests and match them and type the same thing over and over again. Like this is an example of like all these things you've got over here, or the verified bots is not in. And then he's got to come back down here and do the exact same thing again. I changed that up with the way I did it. But like I said, this is a great place to get started. And I am very grateful to them. I want to point out a few things. There's some things here where they're looking for AS numbers. Well, I want to point out what that is. There's a site here. These are autonomous system numbers. And think of it kind of like a zip code for collections of website IP addresses. You can use AS numbers that will tell you, like, this is from Facebook, this is from DigitalOcean. There are some that he uses that are from Chinese telecom companies, and he uses that to block them. So that is what an autonomous system number is. If you want to know where to find autonomous system numbers or ASNs to block, there are several resources. One of the most popular ones is this one from Brian Hama, Bad ASN List, on GitHub. And you can see that he's got it right here, Bad ASN List, as a CSV file. And he's also got his Cloudflare list. But this CSV was updated 6 months ago, so that's probably one of the most recent ones to look at. There are other people that have modified and added to what he's done. If you search in Google for Bad ASN List, you'll find this and some other repositories that will help you avoid crawlers and such that you don't want. Since I wanted to make some changes, I wrote my own article, and I'm going to link this below. The suburbiapress.com Cloudflare WAF for WordPress. That's what I'm calling it. And that is basically how I'm implementing these security ideas on Cloudflare. One of the questions I get is, do you still need a security plugin like WordFence if you're using this? I used to use WordFence, and here's the reason I don't. First, and I explained this in the article, I would rather stop bad traffic and bad actors before they ever get to my server. If you're using a security plugin, that means they've gotten to your server and they're pounding on it, trying to find a way, and your server is expending resources trying to fend them off. If you use a firewall like an edge service, like this from Cloudflare, then your server doesn't have to do any of that work. Cloudflare's servers are doing that work. And since they're pretty much the largest DNS provider out there, they've got plenty of servers that can fight this off. It's kind of like swatting flies for them. And that's why I prefer having an edge doing this detection. When I was working in corporate IT, we did the same thing. We had our routers and services before anything ever got to our servers and equipment. Those devices were fending off any attacks before they got to our internal network. The same thing applies here with Cloudflare. Now, this does mean you need to use Cloudflare for your DNS. Don't worry, it's free. There are paid plans, but you don't need to use the paid plan. What I'm showing you here will work with the Cloudflare free plan. And I kind of go through and explain everything, what it does. And this is why I like to say, very simply, there's your bad visitor. Here is your Cloudflare firewall. And they stop here. They don't get to your WordPress server. And I kind of go over, why I chose this over security plugins. I don't run a security plugin anymore. I found out they really don't have much to do with Cloudflare blocking anything in there. And the limited services that they had left over, well, I really didn't need. And I think that it was just consuming resources that were unnecessary. So I'm kind of about server optimization as well as protection. So I've got something for you. If you want to copy and paste these rules, I put them in a PDF file. To get them, you come to this article, you fill out your name and email address, and check the GDPR box over here, and I will email you the document. And here's what it's going to look like. Okay, so this is it. This is my Cloudflare WAF rules. Let me expand this up a little bit, make it easier so it's not getting confused in the background. And I go over a few things, what they are and why sometimes they don't appear inside of the I'm just scrolling up and down. So sometimes why they don't appear in the expression builder. I'll show you an example of that in my Cloudflare account. I talked about how to use these things, and this is just jumping between page 1 and then 2 pages. So it'll show you right here, step by step, how you get to create a firewall rule, why you need to monitor and adjust them over time. And I've got my caveat here. These work well for my WordPress sites. Your needs may vary. So you want to take a look at how things are working, monitor your firewall events, and I will show you how to do that as well, and adjust things accordingly. So here's what you do. Basically, you come in here and you copy and paste this rule. That's the first one. And then I also show for this one, because it has the skip, I only check 2 boxes. I don't check all of them like the original article that I found does, because I want to have these protections, even if it's a bot that's coming through. I don't want bots, scraping my site for hot links or other things. I don't want to skip that protection. I just want to skip, the rate limiting rules and the super bot fight mode. That's something that's provided by Cloudflare. So, and when I say good bots, we've kind of looked at what are they, and they're in these various categories that are mentioned here. So if I'm going to use this, you can see that I've got this selected. I'm going to copy that, and let me go over now to Cloudflare. And this is what that rule looks like. So all good bots. This is the visual builder if you wanted to do it that way. But really, I just pasted it in here, and it created this expression for me. So if you want to edit this expression, all you have to do is copy it from the PDF file that I'm providing and paste it in there. And then you come down here and say, what action? Well, the action is skip. And then here are the things that you skip. This first one is the only one where you have something to skip. So that way you just paste it, check 2 boxes, save it, and you move on to the next one. So let's go back up to these custom rules, and you'll see that I have the same titles that were on that article. And then we've got aggressive crawlers. So if I go ahead and look at that, I'm going to click on these 3 dots, click edit. You notice you don't see the expression builder. If I click on that, it doesn't work because the expression is not supported by the expression builder and will be discarded. Well, I don't want to discard it. I want to use it. And that's because I'm using this thing is like not a CF client bot, and then it says all these other things. So there are little phrases like this. CF is for Cloudflare, and then the client bot. There's a whole bunch of codes that help you understand what these things are. And you can see that in the web application firewall documentation. They'll explain what these things are. But what I'm sharing with you is a cut and paste thing. You cut it out of my PDF file, you paste it in here, and then you come down here and select. So in this case, manage challenge. A managed challenge you've probably seen before is like, you might get a thing when you go to log into a site and it says, verify you're human. Well, that's from Cloudflare. You may have to check a box, or it may already read something on your browser and say, okay, I know you're human because of some of the cookies or whatever that are in there. The bots can't get past that. So instead of blocking them outright, what you're basically doing is giving a pathway in case there is a human visitor that matches some of this stuff that should be allowed through, and they can determine that they're human, and you'll let them get through. And that's going to come in handy. Let's say that you want to stop bots from some of the common VPS services like DigitalOcean or Cloudflare. A lot of valid users are on those sites, and a lot of invalid users that are, putting bots out there, or even people that are valid users but have some malware on their site that they suddenly start scanning and they become a bot engine and without even knowing it. So I don't want to block those people because they may have legitimate business to come to my site, but I do want to stop the bots. So I've got a few things over here. Yandex is a Russian site. SEMrush, Ahrefs, those are for SEO tools. And I've got a few other things over here that I just kind of put down. And these are things that I've decided that I don't want, those bots coming through. And I've even got some things over here like bot, spelled and capitalized different ways. This is a bit aggressive. You may not want to do it because that could catch some potentially good bots. But the idea that I have is this is my second rule. So the good bots should have already been allowed to skip on the first rule. So if they get past the first rule, they shouldn't be coming up to this rule. And I have it following allow good bots. And it really just goes down the list. So then I challenge large providers. So that would be things like the search engine crawlers. So there's some of the categories that I've decided to allow through. And then I can come down and start looking at other things. Are they trying to get to certain paths? Do they want to get to Ajax? Do they want to get my Google verification. This was one of the things that I found that was missing on the original article. It was like, if you have a Google verification on your site and Google needs to verify you, well, they would have blocked it from what I was seeing on the rules. This one down here is a Facebook URL. So I've just kind of looked at some of these things, and that's how I built what I wanted for my rules. You can build your rules any way you want, but you can start by cutting and pasting, and then you can monitor and see if they do anything that you don't like. The next thing I go down to is manage challenge path and VPNs. So I look at some VPNs that maybe I don't want. And again, these ASNs are based off of collections of sites that I do not want coming to mind. And if they're going to WP login, I don't want them to come. If they're going to WP admin, that was something I mentioned that I added on. And I also don't want them to go to XML RPC. Now, blocking this is something that WordFence and some other security plugins tools do. Like I said, if you're doing it here, you don't really need to do it on a plugin because it's not going to happen. All right, so we've come through those. And then the last category that I have are the places that I'm specifically blocking. And again, I modified some of the rules that we had from the folks who created the article because I'm blocking certain countries. I'm blocking China. I'm blocking Russia. Now, they had ASNs for 3 Chinese telecommunication. I thought, well, I don't want anybody from China coming in. I've already had some of my photographs on my photography site stolen from folks in China. I know because I saw it posted on their website when I did a reverse image search on Google Images. And this T1, well, that is for Tor. In other words, if people are using Tor, I don't want them coming to my site. And again, I'm looking at the URLs. If they're coming to these things on my site, then I'm blocking them. I don't want them trying to find my debug or my error log because that might show potential vulnerabilities on my website. And if they're, the verified bot category in AI crawler or other, then I don't want them in because I don't want AI crawlers on. AI crawlers are not necessarily evil, but they can consume a lot of resources because they're really digging for information and they're kind of aggressive, and I don't want them. I put them down here because they are now included in verified bots by Cloudflare. So every once in a while, Cloudflare updates its rules, which if we go back, I want to show you something that changed. And this is brought up in the article from the Web Agency Hero folks, where they're skipping things. This known bots value, well, AI crawlers are now in the known bots. And that's why they turned this off, and I left it there that way. So I don't necessarily want known bots that are coming through here. But I can look at verified bots, that these are the verified kind of bots that I do want to let in. But notice I only had to put this in here one time because of the way I constructed this. All right, so enough of me talking about this. This is boring to look at. Really, all you're going to be doing is you're going to go to this, and you're going to get these things and just copy and paste. Now, keep in mind, if you're looking at it one page at a time, this one, I put a note up. Sorry, I've got a magic mouse on my Apple, and it just keeps moving around. I put a note up. This is a long expression. This is the only one that goes over a page break. So you need to copy these 2 brackets at the end as part of the full thing. I think all of the other ones are kind of small like this. It's very easy to see where you're copying from. So that's something that you want to keep in mind, is that you want to make certain that when you're copying this, if in case it shows up differently on your computer, that you're getting from start to finish. And the ones that I'm seeing is this one on aggressive crawlers, where it goes over here. So you're going to copy that. You're going to come back to Cloudflare, and you're going to follow the instructions I posted in the documentation to get to your web application firewall. And for your domain, it's going to be under security WAF, and you're going to create a custom rule. Now, I can't create any more custom rules on this one because I've used all 5. If I go to something that is not active, let's take a look at, I think, Nefarious Labs. So if I'm not using any rules, so you're going to see a button that says Create Rule. You're going to go here. You're going to give it a name. I've told you the names I have in the article. And it'll start off with this expression viewer. And like I said, it's kind of tedious to go through, click, select, put in a value, and then or whatever it's going to be. Just edit the expression and paste in there the stuff that I've put in the PDF, and then choose the action. So the first one would be skip, and then check your boxes there. It's so much easier to do that way. And by using the rules in that PDF, I'm kind of giving you a head start for this. So you can modify them over time. I mentioned that you want to monitor this. Well, let's go over here to events. And before I do that, I'm going to switch back to a site that's actually running it, since I don't have a site up for Nefarious Labs right now. And now you can see I've got, for the previous 24 hours, I've got all these firewall events. So some things were skipping, some were managed challenges. You can toggle these things over here to see what it was. So this is something that was going to my home page, and you can see the details over here. You can see that this is the ASN is coming from Amazon, and you can see what the user agent was. And the service that matched it is the bot fight mode from, that's something that we have with inside of Cloudflare. That is a service, bot fight mode. Well, it didn't block it. It gave it a managed challenge. So if this is a person, they got that little screen that says, verify you're a human. And that's what managed challenge does. The ones that might say skip, well, we can come down here. That's one of my things. Allow good bots. That's the only one that does it. And this is somebody's using curl, and that is really all I know. It didn't hit anything else that was, on my rules to block it or challenge it. Same thing if we come down here to skip. All right, so this one, AS Vulture. The Vulture service, they provide a cloud hosting service. Matter of fact, my servers run on Vulture servers for VPSs. So that's why they're getting a managed service. For all I know, that could have been coming from me. And most of these are going to say skip. If you want to take a look and see what's been blocked, well, you can come over here to say action equals, instead of allow, you can say look at block, click apply, and now you see what was blocked. Well, I blocked China. I blocked the Russian Federation. I'm not blocking Singapore, so why did they get blocked? I can come in here and I can evaluate this and take a look at this one down here, pedal search. That is one of the bots that I've decided I don't want to allow in. Is it good or is it bad? If you can do a search on Google, it's like, is pedal search or pedal bot good or bad? You're going to get some yeah, some no. And I decided I'm not going to bother with it. I'm just going to go ahead and give them a block. So that's why this particular one got blocked. It wasn't from China or Russia. Tor, I am definitely blocking. So people with Tor are trying to get to my site and, looking at my contact. That's sometimes how you get contact spam is, people will go to your page and then go ahead and put some, information in your contact page that you really don't want. But look at all the traffic I'm getting from China or the Russian Federation. And this is just stuff that I don't want. And you can just kind of scroll through and see page after page. So yeah, people in the Russian Federation, or bots more likely, are coming to my site. And I'm just blocking them based off the fact that they're coming from the Russian Federation. Also, they're trying to get admin uploads. Well, I don't want anybody going to admin uploads. So that's another good reason why I'm blocking the Russian Federation, is they're trying to get to sensitive things. Again, admin uploads. They're hammering it too. They're going at it left and right. So that is what I wanted to share with you as far as how you can monitor your firewall, how you can do your managed rules, and you'll just see it over here under custom rules. Just to show you one other thing, there is a place over here for tools, and there is one thing that you're going to want to do. You're going to want to put the value of your website server in here and set allow. And I've got this set. It should be probably on all websites. I'm just going to add that. Well, sorry, that's in case I was adding a new one. Oh, there it is. So I've got this for all websites in my account. This is the server that I'm using. and my server is allowed to come in. And that way, if you're trying to get to my sites on my server, you're not going to get there. So, but please make certain that you come to tools, put in an IP access rule, and put in the value for your server. If you have multiple servers, maybe on the same host, well, that's okay. You might be able to look up what is the ASN for your host, whether it's, like I said, DigitalOcean or Cloudflare, or in my case, xCloud, and you can put that in there, and that'll cover all the IP addresses if you're willing to open up that much. But custom rules is the place to go. And once again, I'll have a link in the description for this article that describes in detail of what I'm doing. And you want to scroll down. If you want to get a copy of my Cloudflare web application firewall rules, it's right here. Just go ahead and put in your first name, your email address, click this to let me know that you're a human, and submit the form. And that's going to subscribe you to my email list. There's no fee for this. There's nothing that's going to bill you. It is free. And that way you can just go ahead and get started with this and monitor the way you want to. One of the things I wanted to bring up is the fact that the idea for this really kind of came out of a discussion on our Suburbia Press community. So that's what we're looking at right now. You can see we've got a few people that have signed up. I have a few more that have signed up and haven't said hello yet. It's slowly building up, and I'm really pleased. We've got a nice group of folks over here. So this article came about from a discussion we had in the security, the threats and vulnerabilities. I originally posted the article about the web agency heroes stuff, and that got me to thinking about some things. I've got my own article, and now I'm doing this video. I've got a giveaway that happened with it, all because of some of the conversations that we've been having. We've been talking about not just security. We've been talking about plugins. We've been talking about Fluent Community. We've been talking about various things as far as where people are from, what they're doing, and people are telling me what they've been working with. I've got some private messages, conversations going back and forth as well, from everything from which theme to choose, which plugins work, what do you need for security, what do you need for server optimization. If you're supporting or creating a WordPress site, I would really love to have you in the Suburbia Press community. The description will have the link, but it is hub.suburbiapress.com. All right, I hope this has been helpful to you. I am a big believer in security. I spent most of my corporate career in information security, and Cloudflare is giving away a lot for free, particularly for the small, solopreneur or small to medium-sized businesses. I would highly recommend you look at this. You can do it on their free plan, and I think it's just so much better than using WordPress plugins. You're stopping the bad actors before they ever get to your server. If you like this, please go ahead, leave a comment below if you have any questions. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. And other than that, I'll see you again in the next video.